Imagine lying on an operating table, fully aware that your life depends on the procedure about to unfold. The doctors around you are calm, confident, and experienced. You've been told that this surgery is routine, a necessary step to save your life. But what if, in a split second, everything goes wrong? What if the very people entrusted with your care make a mistake so catastrophic that it changes your life forever? This is the reality that Willie King faced on the morning of February 20th, 1995. A man whose life was already marred by the relentless grip of diabetes, King was scheduled to undergo a critical surgery, a procedure to amputate his right leg, ravaged by disease. But as the anesthesia took hold, and King slipped into unconsciousness, the stage was set for a tragedy that would send shockwaves through the medical community. In an operating room filled with experienced professionals, how could such a grievous error occur? How did the trusted systems and protocols fail so utterly that King would wake up to find his left leg, the healthy one, had been amputated instead? Willie King was more than just a patient on the operating table. He was a man whose life was intricately shaped by the socioeconomic and health challenges that many African Americans of his generation faced. Born in 1944, King lived through significant periods of American history, witnessing the civil rights movement, the fight for equality, and the ongoing struggle for access to quality health care. As a black man living in the southern United States, King's life was undoubtedly marked by the systemic inequalities, particularly in areas of education, employment, and health services. Access to medical care for African Americans during this time was often limited, especially in the southern states where segregation and discrimination were still deeply ingrained. King's health challenges, particularly as he aged, were compounded by these systemic issues. As he entered his 50s, King found himself facing increasingly severe health problems, many of which were exacerbated by a lack of timely and comprehensive medical care. The chronic conditions that plagued him were reflective of broader health disparities that affected many African Americans, particularly in underserved communities. Despite these challenges, Willie King was known to maintain a sense of resilience and determination. Those who knew him often described him as a person who faced his difficulties with a sense of calm and positivity. This resilience would be tested to the extreme as his health continued to decline, eventually leading him to the doors of University Community Hospital in Tampa, Florida. It was here that a series of tragic events would unfold, events that were as much a product of systemic failures as they were of individual errors. In 1995, Willie King, a 51-year-old African-American man, found himself battling the severe and relentless complications of diabetes, a condition that had been progressively deteriorating his health for years. Diabetes, a chronic illness characterized by high levels of sugar in the blood, had wreaked havoc on King's body, particularly targeting his vascular system. The disease's impact was most evident in his legs, where the circulation of blood had been critically diminished due to the narrowing and hardening of the arteries, a condition known as peripheral artery disease, PAD. Peripheral artery disease is a common yet serious complication of diabetes, particularly in patients like King, who had lived with the condition for an extended period. The disease restricts blood flow to the limbs, especially the legs and feet, resulting in a cascade of debilitating symptoms. King experienced constant severe pain in his legs, a sign that his blood vessels were no longer delivering sufficient oxygen to his tissues. This condition also led to the development of non-healing sores and ulcers, which are common in diabetic patients with PAD and can quickly become infected. In King's case, these infections were not only painful but life-threatening, as they could spread rapidly to other parts of the body, leading to systemic infections or even sepsis. By the time King was admitted to the University Community Hospital in Tampa, Florida, his right leg had reached a critical state. The tissues were deteriorating, and the risk of gangrene, a condition where body tissue dies due to lack of blood flow, was imminent. Gangrene in diabetic patients is a serious and often fatal condition if not treated promptly. For Willie King, the only viable option to prevent the spread of gangrene and to save his life was the amputation of his right leg. The decision to amputate was not made lightly. It came after thorough consultations and evaluations by the medical team at the University Community Hospital, a well-regarded institution known for handling complex cases. Dr. Rolando Sanchez, a highly experienced surgeon specializing in cases involving severe diabetic complications, was assigned to perform the operation. Dr. Sanchez had a solid reputation for his surgical skills and had successfully managed numerous cases similar to King's. The operation, while serious, was considered routine within the context of Dr. Sanchez's expertise. There was confidence among the medical staff that the surgery would proceed without complications, as it was a procedure they had performed many times before. However, beneath the surface of this confidence lay systemic vulnerabilities within the hospital's operational procedures, vulnerabilities that would soon have disastrous consequences. The hospital's scheduling and communication systems were not as robust as they should have been, leaving room for critical errors. Despite the gravity of King's condition and the importance of the surgery, there was a lack of stringent checks and balances that would ensure all aspects of the procedure were verified and cross-checked multiple times. On the morning of February 20th, 1995, Willie King, a 51-year-old man, lay on a hospital bed at University Community Hospital in Tampa, Florida, mentally preparing for the surgery that was meant to address a severe complication of his diabetes. King's right leg, ravaged by peripheral artery disease, was scheduled for amputation, a decision made to prevent the spread of infection and further deterioration of his health. For King, as for many patients undergoing major surgery, there was an underlying trust in the medical professionals who would be performing the operation. He likely did not dwell on the intricate details or the potential risks, believing that he was in capable hands. However, unbeknownst to King, the day's procedure was set on a collision course with disaster almost from the start. The hospital's scheduling system, a critical component in coordinating surgeries and ensuring that the right procedures are carried out on the correct patients, harbored a flaw that would prove catastrophic. Due to a combination of human error and miscommunication, King's surgery was mistakenly listed under the wrong leg, the left instead of the right. This simple yet deadly mistake was transcribed onto the surgical blackboard in the operating room, a tool that the surgical team would use to guide them during the operation. As the surgical team prepared for what was supposed to be a routine yet serious procedure, the nurse responsible for prepping King for surgery followed the erroneous instructions on the blackboard. She began the process of sterilizing and marking King's left leg, unaware that it was the wrong limb. This mistake was a result of the collective trust the medical team placed in the hospital's systems, trust that they assumed had eliminated any possibility of such an error. The surgeon assigned to King's case was Dr. Rolando Sanchez, a veteran with years of experience, particularly in managing complex cases involving diabetic patients. Dr. Sanchez entered the operating room with confidence, having performed countless similar operations. He glanced at the blackboard for confirmation, seeing that the left leg was indicated for amputation, and proceeded with the surgery. King, under anesthesia, was completely unaware of the monumental error unfolding in real time. The surgery progressed as planned, technically flawless from a procedural standpoint. Dr. Sanchez and his team focused intently on their work, ensuring that the amputation was executed with precision. Yet, they were entirely oblivious to the fact that they were removing the wrong leg. The error was realized only after the procedure was well underway, too late to reverse the course of action. By then, King's left leg had been irreparably amputated. The realization that they had removed the wrong leg must have been a shocking and horrifying moment for everyone in the operating room. The gravity of the mistake was immediately apparent. Not only had King lost a limb that could have potentially been saved, but the leg that actually required amputation, the right leg, still needed to be removed. King, who had entered the hospital with the expectation of losing one limb, would now be left without either leg, a devastating outcome that no one had anticipated. This tragic mistake was not merely the result of one individual's error, but rather a systemic failure within the hospital's protocols. The reliance on the surgical blackboard, without cross-referencing with King's medical records, or directly communicating with the patient who could have provided clarification, highlighted significant flaws in the hospital's procedures. Dr. Sanchez, despite his extensive experience, did not verify the surgical site with King or double-check the documentation against the patient's physical condition. This oversight, coupled with the breakdown in communication among the surgical team, allowed the error to go unnoticed until it was too late. The consequences of this mistake were profound, both for him personally and for the hospital involved. King, who had already been enduring the severe physical and emotional toll of diabetes, now faced an unimaginable reality: the loss of both legs. One leg had been amputated out of medical necessity, but the other was lost due to a grave surgical error that would thrust King into the national spotlight and expose the systemic failures within the healthcare system. The devastating news of the wrong site surgery quickly spread, and King's family, reeling from the shock and injustice of the situation, sought legal redress. They initiated a lawsuit against University Community Hospital and Dr. Rolando Sanchez, the surgeon who performed the operation. The legal action was grounded in clear allegations of medical negligence, with the family arguing that a series of failures within the hospital system, coupled with Sanchez's lack of due diligence, directly led to the wrongful amputation of King's left leg. As the case progressed, it became clear that the blame could not be placed on a single individual. Instead, the lawsuit revealed that the tragedy was the result of a complex web of errors across multiple levels of the hospital's operations. The scheduling system had recorded the wrong leg for amputation, and this mistake was transferred to the surgical blackboard, a tool that the surgical team relied on without questioning. No one on the team, including Dr. Sanchez, had verified the information against King's medical records or the consent forms, nor had they conducted a final check with the patient himself. The failure to follow such verification procedures underscored a broader issue of systemic negligence, rather than an isolated error. In the end, the case was settled out of court for $1.15 million, a figure that was divided between the hospital and Dr. Sanchez. University Community Hospital contributed $900,000 to the settlement, while Dr. Sanchez personally paid $250,000. Although this settlement provided some financial compensation to King, it could not undo the immense physical and emotional harm he had endured. The loss of his legs irrevocably altered his life, stripping him of his independence and leaving him with a future fraught with challenges. Beyond the financial settlement, Dr. Sanchez faced significant professional repercussions. His medical license was suspended for 6 months, a severe penalty that reflected the gravity of the error. Additionally, the Florida Board of Medicine fined him $10,000 and placed him on probation. The combination of these penalties, along with the intense media scrutiny that followed, severely damaged Sanchez's professional reputation. Despite his previous experience and skill, the stigma of this case made it nearly impossible for him to continue practicing without the shadow of this mistake hanging over his career. The broader implications of this case were profound. It served as a wake-up call for the entire medical community, highlighting the urgent need for more rigorous protocols to prevent such errors. In response, hospitals nationwide began implementing mandatory timeout procedures, an essential pause before surgery where the entire surgical team reviews and verifies the patient's identity, the surgical site, and the planned procedure. These protocols, along with double-check systems that required multiple confirmations of critical information, became standard practice in operating rooms across the country. The goal was to create multiple layers of safety checks that would catch any potential errors before they could harm the patient. For Willie King, the legal settlement provided some financial relief, but it could not restore what he had lost. Despite the devastating impact of the error, King reportedly maintained a remarkable degree of composure and positivity. He did not express personal anger towards Dr. Sanchez, the surgeon who made the grave mistake. Instead, King understood the broader implications of what had happened, recognizing that the true fault lay within the systemic failures of the healthcare system. His ability to focus on the bigger picture, rather than on individual blame, is a testament to his character and a reminder of the importance of addressing the root causes of such tragic errors. Sadly, King passed away in October 2001, just 6 years after the incident, from complications related to his diabetes. However, his case remains a significant and cautionary tale in the history of medical malpractice. It serves as a powerful reminder of the critical importance of adhering to rigorous protocols and the human cost of medical errors. The changes prompted by this tragic event continue to shape surgical practices today, making operating rooms safer and helping to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. As we reflect on the legacy of Willie King, it's worth considering the broader implications of his case. How could a system designed to protect patients allow such a critical error to occur? What steps have truly been taken to ensure that similar tragedies are avoided in the future? And, importantly, do these changes go far enough in safeguarding patients from the risks inherent in medical care? These questions remain as relevant today as they were in 1995. Share your thoughts below. Do you think the reforms initiated after Willie King's case have effectively addressed the root causes of medical errors? Or is there still more to be done to ensure patient safety? If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Join us as we continue to explore the stories that challenge our trust in the systems meant to protect us, revealing the lessons learned and the changes still needed.